Okay, last time we talked about solutions to equations. We actually looked at problems something like 2x plus 5y equals 15, and we found, we looked at a little chart thing, and if the x was 0, we found the y that went with it by plugging into our equation and solving for the variable. Well, we were doing that for a purpose. And that purpose is because there's more than just solving equations. I mean, there's a reason why there's an x value and a y value, and it means something, and that is to create a picture. And the picture is called the graph of the equation. Well, before we start actually graphing equations and things like that, we need to learn something about the axis system and what that is. I've talked to you guys a little bit about Rene Descartes and how he came about doing the Cartesian coordinate system, which is what this is called. This is an XY axis system. It's also called the rectangular coordinate axis, or it's called the Cartesian coordinate plane. Lots of different titles for it. But remember the story about him laying in bed and looking up at the ceiling at the fly and wishing that there was some way that he could describe exactly the position of the fly on the ceiling. Well, just picture yourself looking up at your ceiling and kind of, gridding it off, drawing lines so that you make a grid. Well, then you could tell somebody, okay, go left so much and up so much or down so much, whatever, and they would know exactly where you were talking about. Well, that comes from this idea. Okay, here is our x and y axis system. It's like we have two number lines that have been put on top of each other here. This sideways or horizontal number line we call the x-axis. So horizontally is our x direction. This number line that goes vertically or up and down we call the y-axis. Now, if you'll remember from what we were doing with those points, remember we said every one of those things came in the form of the x first and then the y. It was always alphabetical. Well, that's what this is talking about. This is a direction, basically. It's like saying go, left 100 yards and then turn right and go back north or whatever. It's actually a direction that tells you where something is on this grid. Okay, you'll notice that these axes, when they're put together like this, they break this up into like 4 different sections. We call these quadrants. So this is quadrant 1. This would be quadrant 2. I'm going to abbreviate it as quad. This would be quadrant 3. I'm going to further abbreviate it now just to a Q. And this would be quadrant 4. So it goes counterclockwise starting up here. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now notice that I used Roman numerals here. That's important. If you say quadrant 4, you are wrong because we use Roman numerals to identify our quadrants. All right. Another important feature of our x and y axis system is this point right here, dead center. That has a very special name. We call that the origin. The origin is like the place where we start. If you're going to tell somebody directions on how to get somewhere, you have to give them a starting point, right? Same thing with this. So we start from this origin. That has the value, an x value of 0, right? If we were just looking at the x-axis here, just that number line, that would be a 0 in the x. And for our y, again, that would be a 0 too. So this is our starting point, the origin. You absolutely have to know how this is all set up. You must know which axis is which. You must know your quadrants, and you must know the origin. We're going to begin plotting points and naming them in the next video.